So the first way to solo over the entire guitar fretboard is one string at a time. Whenever we're playing in any key, we need to understand how to map out that key on one string at a time. And what that's gonna do for us is, first of all, it's actually gonna simplify the technique for us as far as our picking hand, because we're not gonna have to pick across tons and tons of different strings all the time. But also, it's gonna ensure that right off the bat, right from the beginning, we're actually not stuck in one place on the guitar fretboard. We're gonna map out the notes in the key of C here on the first string. So we're gonna have E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. And this is just going up to the 17th fret, but you should know this pattern by now. I have another video called The Best Way to Memorize All the Notes on the Guitar Fretboard. If you haven't watched that, make sure you watch that. I'll link it below so that you can understand where this pattern is coming from, because I'm not gonna be getting super into depth with that right now. We're gonna play a solo right off the bat. And this is, by the way, the best way to me to also practice these notes is not just to sit here and go, okay, I'm gonna memorize the notes. Yes, right in the beginning, if you don't know it, go ahead and do that. But what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna improvise right off the bat over a backing track. Cool. So there you go. There's a solo on one string. And notice how actually, even though we're not using all of the strings right now, we are actually using the entire guitar fretboard already. So we're going to kind of blow through this process here. We're going to go to the next string, the second string. So first, what I'm going to do is play a solo only on a second string, because I'm going to assume, like, if you're not totally used to playing on one string at a time, let's go ahead and just get used to that one string, add that in. But then once we're used to that one string, we're going to go ahead and then add in both of those strings. So now we have two strings to deal with. So here's soloing just on the second string. And now I'm gonna allow myself to use both strings, this first and the second string. You can see right off the bat, even just with two strings, you can do a lot of stuff with those two strings. You can start making little patterns and moving them around. And this is why I really like this approach of thinking of one string at a time and then eventually combining strings, because now we're using the entire guitar fretboard, but sometimes it's quite easy to make like little patterns too. Like I can say, oh, let me take D on the second string and F on the first string, and then say, let me move both of those notes up to the next notes on the string. All kinds of different patterns you can make. It's really easy to come up with cool sounding stuff. One string at a time, systematically, we add together all of them and we practice first each string individually and then trying to actually combine strings. I recommend pairs of two strings like I was doing earlier, but then also sets of three strings and gradually adding in more and more strings until you're using the whole entire guitar fretboard. So let's see what that sounds like. So I'm just gonna pick one string at a time for right now, and then I'll eventually use all of them. So let's see here, let's add in a third string. going to use the first, second, and third. Now add in the fourth string by itself. Now add in all of the four strings, first, second, third, and fourth. Something, if you can, try to skip some strings too. That really helps. Now let's add in the fifth string. Now all the strings except for the sixth string. And now finally add in the sixth string. This one sounds really bassy when we solo in the sixth string. And now all of the strings. So you can see that we can get a lot of mileage out of this approach of just using one string at a time. But now some of you may be asking, hey, well, you know, when I try this, it's hard for me to break out of that mode of just thinking of one string at a time and really combining all the strings together. Like I was kind of doing there, you know, going and very rapidly changing from one string to another. So that's where the second way comes in. Number two, position playing. A lot of you probably learned position playing first before you learned one string at a time playing, if you've even learned one string at a time playing. So position playing is important, but the thing about it is that if we start with position playing, first of all, I believe it's kind of confusing to learn different positions if you don't understand the mechanics of the fretboard and understand how the notes are laid out in the fretboard. But then also, we tend to favor certain positions more than others if we're not careful. So this is a document that has all 5 major scale position patterns. Now, there's also some other ways to think of positions where it comes to having 3 note per string patterns that a lot of people like to use. But these position patterns here, the way that they're designed is that we're picking a certain range of frets and then trying to find all of the notes that occur within that range of frets, particularly not having to stretch too much, okay? So this is going to be the first position of the key of C. Look at this top diagram. So we're going to have the starting to open string. So we're going to have E, F, G on the 6th string, then A, B, and C on the 5th string, then D, E, F on the 4th string, then just G and A on the 3rd string, then B, C, D in the 2nd string, and then E, F, G on the 1st string again. Also, one other thing to point out is make sure you look at those green notes that are in each of the position patterns, because those are your root note of the key. So this is the root note of the major key, at least. Those green notes are actually C's, right? Because we're in the key of C. Those green notes are really important because then we can take these positions and sort of move them into different keys if you're really familiar with where those root notes are. So that is the one really cool thing about these position patterns, is they do allow you to figure out other keys without having to actually know what notes are in those keys. You just kind of move the shapes around so that the root note lines up the key. Now, if you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you probably know that I don't think that's a good idea to sort of take that shortcut, not knowing what notes are like actually in a key. Both of these tools are important, having your position patterns and the shapes and all that, but also you should know what notes are in the key, because then that helps you figure out the notes on one string at a time, like we were just doing before. So let's move on to position 2. So you're gonna have this here. So you're gonna have G and A on the 6th string, then B, C, D on the 5th, E, F, G on the 4th, A, B, C on the 3rd, D, E, F on the 2nd, and then G and A on the 1st string. So by the way, fantastic technical exercise if you want to get your chops better is actually practicing playing these with a metronome with strict alternate picking and developing your speed to at least 150 BPM with eighth notes. Let's go ahead and move on to position 3. So we're going to start with A, B, C on the 6th string, and then D, E, F on the 5th string, and then just G and A on the 4th string, and then A, B, C on the 3rd, E, F, G in the 2nd, and then A, B, C again on the 1st string. So that's our 3rd position. Then our 4th position is going to be starting on C. There's that green dot because that C's the root. So we're going to have C, D, then E, F, G, then A, B, C, then D, E, F, then G and A on the 2nd, and then B, C, D on the 1st. And then the last position is going to be a 5th, position 5, starting on D on the 6th string. So D, E, F on the 6th string, then G and A on the 5th string, then B, C, D on the 4th, E, F, G on the 3rd, A, B, C on the 2nd, and then D, E, F on the 1st string. So a couple of different ways to just practice these to get them in your head so you're ready to solo is go up one pattern and then go down the next pattern. See, a lot of times people have a problem where they're always starting at the bottom of the position. So you should be able to start anywhere within one of these positions. Practicing one string at a time really helps with that too. But you should be able to do something like this. I won't do the whole thing for the sake of time, but something like that, right? So I went up position 1, down position 2, up position 3, down position 4. And then also you could do the same thing in reverse. So go down position 1, up position 2, down position 3, etc., etc. So do it from every possible angle you can. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start with soloing in one position, okay? But we're going to quickly break out of that. So let's actually try soloing in position 1. Okay, cool. So we got that first position down. Now let's go to the second position and solo there. And by the way, there's other things to contend with I've talked about, like triads and stuff. We're not worrying about that right now. We're just worrying about all the notes in the key, and we're kind of treating them all equally for right now. So let's solo in the second position. So now that I'm comfortable in second position, now we're gonna use both first and second position. We wanna immediately start combining these positions, and then ideally start to see the little connecting points between the positions with our knowledge of the notes of one string at a time. So let's try it. I'm gonna use both positions. So you can see there, these notes that are all the way on the left of the second position are shared with the first position. So you gotta get those connecting points so you don't get stuck in one position the whole entire time. Now let's go ahead and add in third position. Let's add positions 1, 2, and 3. Now let's add in position 4. Now all the positions 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now finally position 5. And now all 5 positions. Okay, so with that being said, you see there, that takes kind of a while to get through all of it, but you got to make sure that you're familiar with all 5 of those positions. And you should have naturally seen too that when I was transitioning between each one, essentially what I was doing is just using my knowledge of one string at a time. That makes me have a much easier time being able to transition between each pattern, because I don't have to necessarily think of the whole entire thing the whole entire time. I can just think, oh, well, I know on this string, there's this note, and then there's this note, and there's this note. And then at some point, I'm using those strings as like a bridge between positions, and I'll kind of slide up somewhere, and then now I'm in a new position, and I slide back, and now I'm in a different position. So that is a really, really, really awesome way to approach the guitar fretboard when you're soloing, is using both one string at a time and the position patterns. We're going to do one more thing before this lesson's over, which is 4 note per string scales. So with 4 note per string scales, this helps us do exactly what I was just talking about here. Being able to glue together and combine the ideas of one string at a time, single string playing, and the ideas of positional playing, one position at a time. So the idea is simple. We're going to start with the lowest possible note we can find in the key, and then put 4 notes on that string, and then move to the next string and continue building the scale from there. So it's all the same notes that we've been using this whole entire time, but we're just looking at it in a different way. So we have, starting from the bottom, E, F, G, and then A. And then we're going to switch strings there because we already have 4 notes on that string. So now we're going to have B, C, D, and E on this string. Now we're going to go to the next string. We're going to have F, G, A, and B. Next string, we're going to have C, D, E, and F. Next string, we're going to have G, A, B, and C. And then the next string, we're going to have D, E, F, and G. And if you notice, within this 4 note per string pattern, it's combining perfectly. It's like a little mini 1 string pattern, and then it's going up a position. So like, for example, these notes here, these would be all like kind of from the 2nd position of the 5 major scale positions. These notes over here would be kind of like from the 3rd position. These notes over here would be like from the 4th position. And then these notes over here would be like the notes from the 5th position. And then just kind of extending it even further with this G all the way on the 15th fret. So it's really cool. It's almost like taking the bottom little snippet of a position, then the middle-ish snippet of the next position, then another middle-ish snippet of the next position, and it just really ties together everything nicely. So let's see what it sounds like using 4 notes per string, and then I'm just going to use all of these things all combined together. This is the goal that we want to get to, is being able to use all of these things evenly and have them equally accessible to us. So if you want to learn how to master the guitar fretboard so that you can learn all 3 of these approaches, not just in one key, but have them down in every single key just as comfortable as in the key of C, then make sure you head on over to Jamsville.com right now and check out the Jamsville GPS Fretboard Fundamentals course. Also, check out my favorite guitar picks. The ones I'm using in this video is called the Dan's Guitar Store Precision Pick. They have absolutely the best grip and best picking edge that I've ever felt in any pick. Also, make sure you check out the Jamsville merch store where you can get an awesome Jamsville t-shirt just like the one that I'm wearing here. Make sure you support the channel and you can rock an awesome looking t-shirt. Also fits great. It's super soft and comfortable, and I love how it fits and I love how it looks on me. Also, last thing, check out my new song. It's called My Divine. It's out on all streaming platforms right now. That's what you're hearing in the background. And check the link below for all of these things that I just talked about. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, listen, learn, and jam.